everyone, myself Mrs. Archana Mhatre, lecturer in Electronics and Telecommunication Department. In this video, we are going to continue with the third unit of microcontroller and application, that is 8051 timers, interrupt, serial and parallel communication. So in this video, we will study about input-output port structure and its configuration. As the 8051 has 4 ports, that is port 0, port 1, 2 and port 3. This ports allows the microcontroller to connect with the outside world. That means when you have to connect the external peripheral device with the 8051 microcontroller, then the connection or interfacing interfacing of that external device to the microcontroller is through this port 0, 1, 2 or 3. The 4 ports of 8051 microcontroller have certain specific functions and corresponding features. First, we will study port 0. Port 0 having the address 80H into the internal RAM, and it is a bit addressable port. It is a 8-bit port. Now, this is the internal structure of port 0. This is the input-output port 0 and all bits of port 0 SFR correspond to the P0 pins on the microcontroller. That is, bit 0 of port 0 is pin P0.0 and bit 7 is pin P0.7. So by writing the values of 1 to the bit of port 0 SFR, it will make a high level on the corresponding input-output pin, whereas value of 0 will make it to a low level. As this port have a double purpose function, that is, when the external memory is used, then the lower address byte, that is address of A0 to A7, is transmitted on it. This we have studied in the pin diagram of 8051 microcontroller. Otherwise, port 0 can be used as an input-output port. To use the pin of the port 0 as both input and output, each pin must be connected externally with the pull-up resistor, as P0 is an open drain. Now next is a port 1. Now this is the port structure of port 1. It is a 8-bit port and it can be used as an input or output port. The address of internal RAM location of this port 1 is 90H. So this is the input output port 1 and all bits of port 1 SFR correspond to all the P1 pins of the microcontroller. That is, port 1 pin, bit 0 of port 1 pin is P1.0 and bit 7 of pin is P1.7. So by writing a value of 1 to a bit of port 1 SFR, it will make a high level on the corresponding input output pin, whereas a value of 0 will make it as a low level. Port 1 can be used as a 8-bit input output port, and port 1 does not need any pull-up resistor since it already has a pull-up resistor internally. Port 1 can be configured as a port 1 can be configured as input port upon reset. Suppose port 1 has been configured as output port, and to make it an input port again, then the port 1 must write 1 to all the bits. That means all the bits of port 1 should be 1 high. Next is a port 2. This is the internal structure of port 2. It has an address A0H in the internal RAM location and it is a bit addressable port. This is the input output port 2 and all the bits of port 2 SFR correspond to all the P2 pins on the microcontroller. Bit 0 of port 2 pin is P2.0 and 7 is P2.7. Port 2 can be used as a 8-bit input-output port, and port 2 does not need any pull-up resistor since it already has pull-up resistor internally. The port 2 can be configured as an input-output port. Now port 2 has a other function that it is used to send a higher order address bus, that is A to A15, indicating It's a dual function. As we know, 8051 is capable of accessing 64 kilobytes of memory, external memory. It needs bus for the 16-bit of the address. So P0 gives the lower 8-bit via A0 to A7, while P2 gives the higher 8 bits via A8 to A15 of the address. When the 8051 is connected to the external memory, then P2 is used to transmit the upper 8 bits of the 16-bit address, and it cannot be used for the input-output port. Now next is a port 3. This is the internal structure of the port 3. It has the address B0H into the internal RAM location. It is a bit addressable port. Again, this is 8-bit port having the R corresponds to all the P3 pins, and on the microcontroller, that is bit 0 for port 3 is pin P3.0 and 7 is P3.7. P3, that is port 3, can be used as an input or output, and port 3 does not need any pull-up resistor connected to it. Port 3 is configured as input port upon reset. Port 3 has alternate functions such as interrupt, serial input output, timers, counter, and read write control external memory. Thank you.